Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'd just like to start, if I could, by asking you a few questions just to get an idea of who we've got in the audience and where you are with Moodle, whether you're already currently using it or whether you're actually planning to move to Moodle. So just a quick show of hands, who's already using Moodle? So, okay. And who's looking at moving to Moodle from another proprietary LMS system? Okay. Well, hopefully we'll be able to guide you with a few things today. What we're going to talk about is our process of moving from Blackboard Campus 8 to Moodle, which is called 9, and 9 months later we had Moodle. We did actually manage to achieve the migration in 9 months. And what we want to share with you today is our strategy and our implementation process, and how we integrated all our systems in order to get a holistic solution for York St John University. Just before I continue, I'll just introduce myself. My name is DanielMackley and I'm the Staff IT and E-Learning Trainer at York St John University. And I was involved in the project from the beginning, although if you do have any kind of technical questions for me, I might not be able to answer those. And I've got a colleague with me today as well, Blaine Parkinson, who's a learning technologist at York St John University. If you do have any questions, if you don't mind, if you could just wait until the end of the session to ask those questions, and we'll take all questions at the end. So, just to give you a little bit of background and give the project a little bit of context, York St John University is a relatively small institution with only 6,800 full-time equivalent students. And that is one of the factors of being able to move to Moodle and change learning platforms in just 9 months. One of the other things was as well, we didn't actually have to go through a procurement process. The senior management team made the decision that we weren't actually going to be using Blackboard anymore, and we were just told to go out and look for another learning delivery platform. We were cutting all ties with Blackboard, and it was a really easy decision for us because we were actually using Moodle as a secondary VLE in the Faculty of Education and Theology within the university, and we were supporting Moodle for 4 years as a secondary VLE. And we were very keen to kind of move away from Blackboard and move to Moodle, so we already had experience of using it. There was 5 key members of staff involved in the project, 2 IT developers, myself as an IT trainer, and 2 learning technologists. And we were the core team who planned the project and made sure that everything was migrated over from Blackboard to Moodle. And when we kind of got this project landed on us, kind of last year, we had a look at average timescales for implementing a new VLE system, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it generally takes about 2 to 3 years to move from one learning delivery platform to another, particularly in higher education. I don't know if you guys have any feelings on that. And when we kind of looked at that, we got the timescales. We thought, oh, we've got 9 months, so we're going to have to try and streamline our processes in order to move from one to the other. So what I've done for this presentation is broken our implementation process down into 4 key areas. Now obviously our implementation process was much wider than this, but I wanted to just kind of focus on 4 key areas for this particular presentation. First one being the installation of Moodle and the integration with other university systems. So initially when we decided we would move to Moodle, we set up Moodle and we integrated it with some of our other systems, things such as the student record system, things like Active Directory. We linked in with Turnitin so we could use plagiarism detection software, electronic assignment submission, and electronic marking as well. But the integration with these systems was really important because it allowed us to enable automatic course creation and automatic student enrollments on all the courses and the modules that we ran in Moodle. Which basically we thought would save us a lot of time in terms of having to set those courses up manually. And then once we got Moodle in place, what we did is we ran a series of pilots. And what we did with these pilots is we targeted the staff who were a little bit concerned about moving from Blackboard to Moodle. When we first announced that we were moving to Moodle, we got the general kind of, we've only just got used to Blackboard, why do we have to change? So what we did with the pilots is we asked those people who were concerned about it to get on board with the pilots so they could engage with Moodle a lot earlier and they could get support right from the start. And the pilots were really useful because they actually helped us preempt any kind of issues that we might have had when we rolled the system out to the whole institution. During the pilots as well, we also trialled a number of pieces of software that have been designed to transfer Blackboard courses over to Moodle courses. And actually what we found is we tried various different pieces of software, and actually none of them were particularly useful. None of them were 100% successful. And what we decided to do in the end was just say to staff, look, you're going to have a clean start here with your learning spaces in Moodle. You're going to have to start from scratch, which actually probably needed to be done anyway, because we'd been using Blackboard for quite a while and there was a build-up of files. There was kind of legacy files that they don't use anymore. So it gave the staff an opportunity to kind of refresh any materials that they wanted to use in their teaching. And from the pilots, we also got a lot of feedback, which then we used to actually customize the system and actually tailor it to our own institutional needs. Probably the biggest change we made to Moodle was from the feedback. A lot of the academic staff were saying, look, Moodle's great, it's much more reliable, it's much more stable, it's faster than Blackboard, but the one frustrating thing is we can only upload one file at a time. So what we did is we took this on board, and it wasn't just one member of staff that said this, it was like everybody involved in the pilots was saying this is really frustrating. So what we did was we built in a feature that allows multiple file uploads, so a member of staff could upload any number of files to the Moodle files area, and we rolled that out when we rolled out Moodle to the across the whole institution. We also developed a student and staff feedback block for Moodle, so we could actually gather feedback throughout the first academic year of using Moodle, and that proved really useful because we could constantly gather all feedback from staff and students. And what we've done now is we've just kind of collated all that feedback and evaluated it, and we're actually moving to Moodle 2 this summer, and we're trying to build in some of the features that were requested within that feedback into our new implementation of Moodle 2. Other things that we added to the system were things like an audio recording tool, which enabled audio forums. So within the forums, students could log on and actually respond to forum posts using audio and using an audio recording tool. And we also customized the system as well by adding things like a little email block in there and a little timetable block. So when students logged on, they could see if they had any new emails, they could see if they had any appointments within the timetable. Probably the most important part of the implementation process from my point of view was the end user training, and we were really conscious about handling that change management for staff. As I said before, staff were concerned about the move. They did have the reservations, but so what we did was we ran a series of training workshops all the way through the summer, basically from April to September, which introduced staff to Moodle, to the new features, and we took them through kind of the whole process, the basics all the way through to some more advanced features. What we also did was we developed a series of small videos, electronic videos, instructional videos, sorry, which guided staff through certain things like how to upload a file or how to create a directory. In case they couldn't get hold of us, in case they couldn't contact us, then they needed this moment of need kind of resource. So we developed a series of kind of bite-sized videos. We also developed a series of kind of instructional guides as well, so step-by-step guides on how to do these things. And what we also did to help support staff during the kind of implementation stage of Moodle was there's three of us, myself, Blaine, and another one of my colleagues, we each took a day out in a faculty, one day a week, and said to people, look, if you've got any concerns about Moodle, if you've got any questions about Moodle, if you need any support, you can come see us on that day. So for instance, on Monday, one of us would be in the business school and would dedicate that whole day to helping them and supporting them and moving them to Moodle. And we also kind of extended that by setting up a group which we called e-learning champions. And these are the people who are a little bit more kind of IT savvy and they want to engage with it in a much more kind of interactive way. And we also had those positioned in all the faculties as well. So if staff couldn't get hold of us or couldn't work out what they needed to do, they could also go see their kind of e-learning champion in the particular faculty that they were in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Blaine, who's going to take you through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you very much.
I'll just hand over the mic.
There you go. Right, this is a sort of a diagram really that shows how we've set up our system to capture information from the staff about how they want to actually run their courses and the way that it interacts with the various other systems that we have. So we had a starting point of Blackboard here. That was our legacy system, that was where all the content was, and as we've already mentioned, we looked into the possibility of migrating directly from Blackboard to Moodle, and that just wasn't going to happen. The back-end databases were too different. But we used it as an opportunity to sell the idea of re-looking at your courses, re-looking at your learning material, and trying to sort of improve it. You know, never keep standing still. So that was our initial sell to the staff. But in a way to actually capture how they really wanted to run their courses, we got our developers to develop this little application called Moodle Modules, and it was just on the intranet, and they would log on and they could tell us how they wanted to run their course. For example, a course may run across the whole year. The course may run in the first semester or second semester, or be repeated in those semesters. There may also be multiple cohorts within those groups, or groups within those courses. So for instance, occupational therapy and physiotherapy have both in-service and full-time students, you see. Have the same content, but it's delivered at different times of the year, you see. So they would actually want different spaces to be tailored for those different groups, you see. So we captured all of that information in the Moodle modules, along with the staff that would have been associated with them. That would then, every sort of 12 hours, scripts will be run against this database here, and look at our SIT database, which is our student record system and our course record system. And based on the information there, it would actually generate groups within Active Directory. This would then, next time the scripts are run, create the courses in Moodle. So all of that will be generated automatically. Certainly when we talked to other institutions that were using Moodle, for their course creation, they were getting staff to either email them saying, I would like a course, 1OT, 101 please for this and for that, or the request a course functionality within Moodle itself. We strictly kept the request a course functionality to non-credited sections, so that could be anything from just a student forum page, or maybe a particular event that's happening, or something that's not part of any of the credited structures that the university have. So we kept the actual credited courses to this Moodle module so that everything can be done automatically. It takes a lot of administrative overhead off of us, and it allowed us to be a lot more creative in the way that we could produce courses and deliver them to the staff, so that they can then deliver them to the students. So I was saying, every 12 hours, scripts are run, and these SITs will inform on Moodle modules and will create the groups within Active Directory. At the point that a student or a member of staff logged into Moodle, that would interrogate the Active Directory and then create those associations with the courses. So as an individual logged on to Moodle, it would activate the scripts, and they would say, right, this individual with this username, etc. is logged on. They are associated with course ABC, X, Y, Z, and at that point they would appear on those courses. So an individual wouldn't appear in Moodle till they log on for the first time, which people thought was going to be a hindrance until we pointed out that it's very easy to then find out what students never have logged on to Moodle, which they liked that. So that was another selling point for them. So that's Moodle, how Moodle interacts with our back-end university systems. And then we've also incorporated or started to incorporate a number of external systems into Moodle as well. So we've already mentioned Turnitin and our audio tool. We're also adopted Mahara as the portfolio system across the university. That's in pilot phase now and will be rolled out this September. And we're also looking at Big Blue Button as a virtual classroom. We're currently using Wimber Virtual Classroom on a trial basis, but with the sort of money they're wanting from us next year, we're going to be moving to Big Blue Button. The only downside to Big Blue Button is it doesn't have an archiving feature at the moment. That's the one sticking point, but that will come. And if a Big Blue Button doesn't do it, we'll get one of our developers to look at it. So that's our structure as it is at the moment. Like with everything, you have both positives and negatives. There's no panacea for all your IT and e-learning ills. Positives, Automatic course creation from the students' enrolment, that by far is one of the most helpful things. You know, we have, because potentially we could have from just one course, maybe 4, 5, 6 modules. You know, we could have hundreds and hundreds of modules. So trying to manually set that up would be a nightmare. That's a full-time job for one person in itself. So the automatic course creation was a big sell. The integration of third-party systems, being open source, as soon as you move to an open source platform, suddenly a load of things open up to you. You don't have to worry about licensing. One of the reasons why we were using Moodle as a secondary system was because of the licensing with Blackboard, we couldn't actually have external people on there, because certainly with education and theology, there's a lot of people working outside the university without university use IT accounts and things like that. So that's why they were using Moodle. And now that we're using Moodle across the whole university, we don't have those. There's no one to answer to but ourselves. And also we've got like Mahara, Big Blue Button, Tennyson that we've already mentioned. Stability, reliability, and speed, without doubt. Across the whole system, everything runs so much quicker. It's so much more reliable, and where we have come across an issue, we've been able to resolve it within an hour. You know, turnaround is sort of an hour really. Whereas, seen as before we had hosted with Blackboard, we would have to email someone and phone someone, and then they might get back to us, or we'd have to email and phone them again, and then probably again, and maybe by the end of the week we'll have talked to someone. So the actual stability and reliability behind the whole system was such a big sell. The negatives. When we actually did our initial training, we did just focus on this is how you get stuff into Moodle. We didn't cover a lot of the more advanced side of what you can do for course creation. So we do currently have quite a bit of inconsistency across Moodle courses, which obviously for the student experience, if they have one module with a tutor who is actually quite tech savvy or quite enthusiastic, then they might actually have quite a nice engaging Moodle course. They then could go on to another module where the actual tutor in question just sees VLE as an inconvenience, and so the experience they have with that course is quite negative. And definitely I would say that student experience and engagement with anything electronic, doesn't have to be a VLE, it could be an e-portfolio system, is directly sort of comparable to the staff's engagement with it. The staff sees it as an inconvenient add-on or something like that, the students will see it as exactly the same. So getting the staff on board really does help getting the students engaged with it as well. The other negative is Moodle modules, as we did design it, we did have a few problems. We allowed staff just to go in, make the changes they want, etc. So we had a situation where we had one staff member who would go in and say, oh, this needs to be just one module across the whole year, and then these staff are associated with it, and then next day someone else will come in and go, oh no, we've got it each semester, so they'll change it again. And so we actually ended up with loads of courses in Moodle, and half of them weren't even being used because they were switching between the two. So for this year, we're going to run the same process, but we're going to have it so that as soon as someone makes the first change to the Moodle modules, it gets locked down. If they want to make any more changes, they've got to come back and sort of ask us, so then we can then start saying, well, why is it not meant to be this? And so-and-so said this, so maybe you want to go and talk to this person who you're meant to be working with and come to some sort of consensus. So we did come across a bit of a problem with that, but because we controlled the whole system, it wasn't such an issue. We weren't having to go cap in hand to a third party to go, can you please change this, please? We had full control over it. So that's more refining a process for this year, and so we're hoping that this September we'll have a far smoother transition. Moving forward, considering we moved from one VLE to another, from Blackboard to Moodle, we had very, very few problems. Nothing that we couldn't actually handle in a very, very short space of time. We are lucky. We've got a couple of very good developers. Based on that, we're going to use the same model, and this September we're going to move to Moodle 2. We figure they're still reeling from the last one. They might not notice this. But we're going to put the same sort of training, the same sort of support in place. Certainly, if you do need to support your staff, just simply giving someone a one-off bit of training isn't good enough. They'll forget half the stuff. It's got to be a continuous process. It can't be a one-off hit. And so we're doing that. Part and parcel of the move over from Moodle 2 will be selling right here is how you can jazz up your courses. This is the sort of stuff you can really do. Bring in some Web 2 services and functionality. Really engage your students. So that's the Moodle 2. We're going to integrate Gradebook within Moodle with our SIT system. Currently, there's no talking between the two systems, so you could end up with a staff and adding to Gradebook and then having to go into SITs and enter the grades there, because ultimately SITs is the one point of authority regarding student grades. So we're trying to just streamline that if you put it into Moodle, SITs will reflect that. And there's various other little systems that we're trying to sort of integrate as well. Having a deeper integration with Mahara is another thing, because obviously that's rolling out this September. As Daniel mentioned, the audio tool was very successful within the project that it was designed for, so we're rolling that out as well across the whole university. And as it's something that we've developed ourselves, we're hoping that it won't be too much of a hassle to make sure it works with Moodle 2. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Big Blue Button, obviously, as well, another one which I've already mentioned. So that's the sort of situation as it stands here, and the way that in the very sort of rough overview of how we've managed that. But all in all, it's been very, very smooth and successful. So we're quite pleased with that. So really, seeing as we're sort of running out of time, so any questions really?
What is your current integration level with Mahara? What are your future plans and how you're going to do it?
Current integration with Mahara is that students can go straight to Mahara from Moodle. So there's actually a link. Once they've logged into Moodle, they've got a link which says ePortfolio, and that goes straight in. We don't even need to log in again to Mahara. They can log into Mahara externally, but they can also access it straight away from Moodle. We have a few ideas of how we would like it to integrate in the future, certainly with future versions of Mahara and Moodle, the way that they're going to start talking with Mahara 1.4, Moodle 2, and so on and so forth. So as there's more integration between the two systems, we are going to adopt that as well. So
it can be adapted to 1.9 or what's the
at the moment we're on 1.9, and so at the moment all we've got is that direct one click straight over to Mahara from Moodle. With Moodle 2, and when the Mahara 1.4 comes out, then they're talking to each other a lot more as well. I think with future versions, you're going to be able to directly submit Mahara views to Moodle assignments and Moodle quizzes. If you do well in a Moodle quiz, you can have that and decide to have that reflected in your Mahara portfolio and profile, so that sort of thing. So really trying to, because Mahara's great because it's something that the students control. Moodle's really controlled by the staff. Mahara's controlled by the students. So we've already got students with writing societies on there and things like that. So it's going quite well. So
about the audio forums.
Yeah.
I know that we have instructional designers who love the idea of having audio forums. And when I talked to a few teachers, they said, "What? I need to listen to a 50 post on the forum? Are you crazy?" So it's really like, it's to you and to other people here. Like, what experience do you have with that?
The audio tool was initially developed for an online MA called Digital Dialogues, and it's actually a course that's run internationally. There's students on it in America, Bahrain, so on and so forth. So a lot of it's about language. So it's so that the students can actually record what they want to say, and so the students can hear it, but also hear like the inference behind it and the accents, that sort of thing. So that was the intention. That was what was developed for as part of the project. But because it can be incorporated into like assignments for feedback and things like that, the idea of audio feedback as well for staff. We're asking students and staff to do more and more stuff electronically regarding assessment. So it's really down to us to also support and help them do that. It's all well and good saying, right, go off and do it, but we're setting them up for a fall if we don't give them that sort of support and different ways of working as well. So. Mm. 600 staff, yeah. Yeah.
How did they take it when you said to start from scratch?
Not as badly as we thought they would. We were prepared for a real fight, and there was the usual dissenters. But the way we approached it with, you can really start looking at revitalising your course material. So we sold it, so we gave them a why first. Before we hit them with the, now you've got to do this, we did give them a very strong why you've got to do this. And so we did, it's the way, it was in the selling really. We could tell that a lot of them didn't like it because it was overhead work-wise. But they could actually see the logic behind it, so they begrudgingly sort of got involved. Once they actually did, quite a few of them did enjoy it because they were able to sort of get involved in it.
Those that kicked up a bit of a fuss initially were the ones that didn't really interact with Blackboard anyway, so it actually helped us get them on board and say, look at what you can do with it, because a lot of people got frustrated with Blackboard, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, it was unreliable, things failed. But actually we showed them how they could do it in Moodle, and then all of a sudden that spark in them kind of ignited, and they were away and they haven't looked back really.
You mentioned that in the future you would like to feed back grades into SITs.
Yes, that's hopefully be done this summer.
Have you given it any more thought? Have you thought where would you do the tweaks? Or?
That's something that our developers, the two guys who are our developers, are looking into, and they've already fed back to us that, yep, we can do that, no problems. So that's on their roadmap for this summer. We have in-house developers.
Do you host the Moodle yourself as well?
We host the Moodle ourselves as well. When we had Blackboard, it was hosted by Blackboard, but now it's all in-house, so it means that we've got so much more control over things. And just to illustrate a point, the cost it would have taken, how much it would have cost us to renew our licenses of Blackboard, we were able to buy all the hardware, the security, the backups, full-time developer, and the training, and still come in at cheaper. And that was the first year hit, which is the most expensive. Yeah, considerably cheaper. Yeah.
We just moved to, we're just beginning the process of moving to Moodle as well, and I think the entire budget is less than 3/4 of the annual license cost.
And of course, subsequent years after that are cheaper because you don't have to pay for the new server every year or the.
But it got really easy after that. Using hosting, and I had to present to ET and justify my budget, and I said, here's the next 5 years of Blackboard, and the chart went up, and here's the next 5 years of Moodle, assuming inflation rise.
Yeah.
The savings were about £250,000 over 5 years.
Yeah. So it's
expensive, and then it drops to that.
yeah.
So after that, I mean, the usually whoever's in charge of the budget, his eyes light up with glee.
Yeah.
And he approves whatever budget you want.
Just show them the page. They don't even look at any of the other slides of the presentation. They're still seeing those pound signs floating in front of their eyes. They're sold.
Executive summary, they don't get that.
Yeah, that's it.
The teachers don't want to move, you can send them to him.
Yeah, they don't like him.
But yeah, that was a big thing. So, sort of cost-wise, now we're really, it's a lot easier. So we've got 2 developers now. So, and for the most part, they're pretty good. They can cover most of what we need. So between what the Moodle community itself is doing wider and and also anything that we do, we're happy to release back to the Moodle community. So we're not being precious about it. We've taken from it, so we're happy to give back as well. So that's not a problem. So, any other questions? That's it. They've all got too hungry to ask any more questions.